Hi, I'm Justin.
Also, I hate the way my voice sounds, so if you can do whatever Photoshop does to voices, make me sound awesome.
And this is my lovely friend,
The beauty in the eyes of the beholder, and it's just about getting into the seat of being the beholder.
Hayley.
I don't think you have to be particularly perceptive. I just think you have to look up.
This podcast is mostly just her telling me stories.
If you expose yourself to the possibility that this might be really awkward, there can be something just really cool on the other side of it.
She thinks that her life and way of looking at things are
Oh, I was kind of waiting on you. I thought you were getting your stuff ready. You're waiting on me?
pretty normal.
You got to edit out all the misinformation about the Amish.
Maybe you can relate
I would like a chance to re-sing the Amish Paradise.
if you want lighthearted stories
All right, you want to talk about goats?
and stream of consciousness.
I just woke up and needed some friends, and so I bought them.
Then you're gonna like the Sunny Side Up podcast.
Sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up.
So, if you're at all like me, you may feel that you're living in a world that can be a bit overwhelming and confusing at times. I'm also a huge fan of podcasts, documentaries, docudramas, stories, and of just information in general. Between all of that and the social media and news, sometimes our brains can feel like they're on overload. Hayley and I hope that this podcast can be something of an antidote to all of that. Like little jello shots of joy and distraction. None of it is too serious or really too informative. Mostly it's just two friends who have conversational chemistry talking about whatever enters the minds of relatively ADHD people. We hope you enjoy.
Are you, you'll talk to strangers in public.
Yeah.
Are you as comfortable talking about yourself as you are talking about others? I guess when it's a total stranger, you just talk about something arbitrary, something different.
Right. Well, there is that weird thing of, I feel like in some ways it's easier to talk to strangers because there's if I tell them something about my life and they don't like it, or they I perceive they don't like me, I have sort of a it's like a low risk thing. They're just going to wander away from this conversation and be out of my life. So there's no risk. So it's actually riskier, I think, to open up to people you know. So that's why I think I think it's smart to
Less consequential.
To get to know, if I'm going to open up to someone I know, it's I first got to get to know them. What can they handle? What kind of a person are they? All that stuff. Whereas strangers, I find it relatively easy to talk to them. I love hearing from strangers. Not every stranger wishes to talk about their life or is very interested in my life either. So it has to be the right kind of stranger.
Yeah, the ones that aren't going to follow you home.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Or invite you to bars. Yeah. I did get invited to a bar by a stranger in a Walmart one time.
Ooh.
Yeah. But it was an older gentleman.
Yeah.
Into his 80s easily.
Oh, wow.
A nice little sweater and corduroy pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. But his son was in a band, Wilco.
The Wilco band. Why do I know that?
It's a pretty big band. They've got good music.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were just lunchtime in Walmart running in to pick up something, and I start talking to this guy, and he starts telling me about his son and his music, and his daughter has music also. And the next thing you know, I know all about his family. He knows a little bit about mine.
Yeah.
And he was like, "How often are you here? Because we should go bar hopping.
That
I know
is
where all the
amazing.
good music is." And he had such good taste in music.
Aww.
His taste at 80 was the same as mine at
That's
30.
good taste.
Yeah.
That's good taste.
Well, anybody whose taste reflects my own is obviously, in my definition, going to be
Clearly
good taste.
Yeah,
right?
that's sort of absolutely. Yeah, they're clearly they have wonderful taste in music. That's awesome though. Well, and I feel like going out with an 80-year-old man from Walmart would be a relatively safe bet. You're probably not going to end up in a ton of trouble.
That is true. I mean, in my history of talking to 80-year-old men in Walmart, It is typically a safer conversation.
Yeah.
You can get good tips that way.
Yeah.
One of them that I was talking with in the vitamin section one morning, which, by the way, is probably the most difficult thing. Second most difficult thing only to purchasing health insurance. Shopping for vitamins is a science unto itself. They should issue degrees for that at institutions of higher learning. But
Probably someday they will, yeah.
yeah, like while I was fumbling my way through the multivitamins,
Through the multiverse.
the multiverse of multivitamins.
Yeah, the multivitamin verse. Yes.
But an elderly man was there, and he just starts telling me what he uses to grow the best tomatoes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, he uses vitamins? Or no. He just was giving you advice on how to grow a good
Don't
tomato.
really recall how we made the leap from vitamins to growing tomatoes, but his answer was using formula, baby formula that they use for the baby cows, calf formula, blended into the soil. He said it's made the very best tomatoes. I don't think that's a universal tip. It's going to depend on your soil. If your soil is deficient in baby calf formula, then perhaps that's the right tip for you.
I want to be the guy who like dips his finger into the dirt and then, what it needs is a bit of calf formula. You always got to wonder, like, how do people discover these things, right? Like, the intentionality. Like, if I just dumped accidentally a little calf formula on the ground, would I notice, like, these tomatoes right here?
Okay, so that's not the weirdest tip I've had for tomato growing, though.
Okay.
Like, working in the courthouse, somebody told me that their relatives, who own it like a feed and seed, by the way, so they've got some authority on the topic, but they would use ashes and urine. So
wow, that is okay. Now let's be specific. These aren't like dead relative ashes. I'm hoping these are just like scrape out of the fireplace ashes, maybe.
I would assume, but I didn't confirm.
Okay, and then my next question is, like, if we've got grandma's ashes, and then do you just pee on them, or like how does the urine and ash become mixed? How, like, what's the process for that?
Again, I didn't confirm.
Okay,
but if you just leave it on top and you pee on top of it, I think there's a chemical reaction you'd have to be a little cautious about. So perhaps you're blending the ashes into the soil. I do have the overalls, but I'm not a confirmed farmer.
Okay.
We need to consult with the professionals on this.
For sure.
But peeing on them somehow, like it contributes to the acidity.
Yes.
Makes a really nice acidic bite, like ideal for a tomato sandwich.
Yes. So like grandpa peeing on his tomatoes is not gross. It actually, like, he's doing all of us a favor. He's
Absolutely.
not just that weird old man. I'm going to be that guy. As I get older, I'd probably pee on tomato plants. I just thought of something, though, before. Like, if maybe the trick is like you're putting out your campfire by peeing on it, and then you're scooping all that up and putting it on your tomatoes. It's a twofer. You get to put out the fire, and you have, like, great tomato base.
Could be, but then you have to handle it. And a thing that I'm not willing to do as a non-tomato grower, I would go ahead and say that I'm not willing to transport urine-soaked ashes. Okay. It's going to have to happen at the site of the plant actually growing.
I feel that.
For me. But human urine may keep, like, deer out of your garden. So it could be a double-edged sword of protection.
Yeah. Deer take down all of our stuff, and I have thought before, like, if I was willing to, like, raise my leg around the edge of the property, or at least around where we plant stuff, I always wonder if it'd be like, oh, this is a fearsome male's territory, human male territory, and we shall not eat all. But so far, we haven't deterred them from eating whatever they want. Your
neighbors are going to be wild about this, this approach. This is a great idea.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your restrictive covenants prohibiting this?
We don't have restrictive covenants, which I'm sure is to
the green light to mark like your territory as nature intended.
Yeah. By the way, when I first learned that urine was potentially helpful to produce was in the movie.
This wasn't the first time?
No, I know. Sadly, there was a great movie. And I'll have to edit out all of my thinking. The guy in it is like one of the all-time great actors. I think he was the Silence of the Lambs actor. Dude.
Oh my gosh, he is the best. That movie he did with the gorillas, Anthony Hopkins.
Yes. Okay. It was a movie, I think, called Indian or something. And it was about this dude. I can't really remember the whole movie. It was like, I remember being incredibly well done. But anyways,
Anthony Hopkins pees on his produce.
he, like, this old man. Yeah, he was working on this motorcycle. I think he was making. I think it was based on a true story, which is my favorite genre, about a dude who made motorcycles go really fast. And he had an Indian motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a lemon tree in the backyard, and he would go, like, every day he would go pee on it. And I remember just thinking, at first I didn't understand it. So I was like, why is this old dude peeing on the lemon tree? And it was like, oh, he's doing that intentionally to make the lemons taste better.
Yeah, maybe it's the acid there
Yeah.
also, like uric acid
Totally.
doing something for it. I don't know. I do know whenever my dad passed away and we had all these ashes to to share with all the family members.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna plant Dad into a tree.
Yeah.
Circle
yeah.
of life kind of thing. Totally killed a magnolia tree.
No.
And then I was like, maybe it was me. So I planted a second one and it also died. And then I
Wow.
discussed it with my sister-in-law who tried to plant him with the tree and it also killed hers. And I think it was a lemon tree. So
This is the same guy who left you, though.
oh, that's true.
Yeah, he may be toxic. We have to-
Or just funny. What a good sense of humor.
Right? He's
like-
like, oh, you're gonna put me in a tree. Watch this, baby girl.
Yeah. Don't think you can reinvent this guy.
Right.
I don't know what the situation was. I just know that it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think anybody bothered to use urine in that situation. So
That's where you missed out.
maybe we're missing something there.
Yeah.
Always test your soil.
Hello, lovely friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And it would mean the world if you would tell other people about this podcast and maybe even spam your social media accounts with just how much you're enjoying it. If you are, of course. Also, commenting and rating us on whatever platform you're downloading or streaming from is incredibly helpful to a little startup podcast like this one. On the other hand, if you are dissatisfied with your listening experience, please leave all of that hate on someone else's podcast. Just maybe to confuse them a little bit, right? But most of all, we hope you keep looking up and looking for the sunny side of life.